Zix stepped off the sleek silver spacecraft, its surface shimmering faintly in the early morning light. The air smelled different here, earthy, alive, and full of something Zix couldn't quite name. It wasn't unpleasant. It was just new. This was Earth, a planet Zix had only read about in carefully controlled textbooks back home. Now, standing on its soil for the first time, Zix felt both excited and uneasy. The Galactic Council had strict rules about visiting Earth. Humans were unpredictable, emotional, and often dangerous. But they were also fascinating. That's why Zix had volunteered to come here as part of an exchange program. The goal was simple: observe human behavior, learn their customs, and report back to the Council. There was one rule, though, a big one. Under no circumstances was Zix allowed to study Earth studies, a forbidden subject that covered humanity's history, culture, and darker tendencies. A man and a woman approached, smiling warmly. They introduced themselves as Robert and Laura Carter. Behind them stood a teenage girl with curly brown hair and bright green eyes. Her name was Mia, and she seemed curious but cautious. Zix nodded politely, trying to mimic their body language. As an alien taking the form of a human teenager, Zix knew blending in would be tricky. Humans were experts at noticing when something felt off. "Welcome to our home," Laura said, extending her hand. Zix hesitated for a moment before shaking it. Physical touch wasn't common among Zix's species, but it seemed important to humans. The warmth of Laura's handshake surprised Zix. It felt strangely comforting. The ride to the Carter's house was quiet at first. Zix stared out the window, marveling at the scenery. Trees swayed gently in the breeze, birds chirped loudly, and cars zipped past on wide roads. Everything moved so quickly compared to Zix's home planet, where life was calm and orderly. Back there, emotions were seen as unnecessary distractions. Here, they seemed to drive everything. Mia broke the silence. "So, what's your planet like?" she asked, glancing at Zix through the rearview mirror. Zix thought carefully before answering. "It's peaceful, quiet, not much changes." "That sounds kind of boring," Maya said with a laugh. Robert chuckled from the driver's seat. "Don't scare our guest, Mia. Everyone's planet is special in its own way." Zix smiled weakly, unsure if they agreed. Was Earth special? It certainly felt chaotic, but there was something captivating about it too. The colors were brighter, the sounds louder, and the people more expressive. Even now, watching Maya fidget with her phone and hum softly to herself, Zix could see how different humans were from their own kind. When they arrived at the house, Laura gave Zix a quick tour. The living room was cozy, filled with soft furniture and framed photos of smiling faces. Upstairs, Zix's bedroom was small but welcoming. A desk sat by the window, offering a view of the backyard. There was even a bed, a strange concept for someone used to floating platforms for rest. "You'll start school tomorrow," Laura explained. "Ridgewood High. Maya will show you around." Zix nodded again, trying to hide their nerves. School would be the real test. Could they pass as human? Would anyone suspect the truth? And most importantly, could they resist the urge to dig deeper into Earth studies? The Council's warnings echoed in Zix's mind, but curiosity burned just beneath the surface. What made humans so dangerous, so unpredictable, so forbidden? As night fell, Zix lay on the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling. Outside, crickets chirped rhythmically, and the wind rustled the trees. For the first time, Zix understood why some beings found Earth beautiful. But beauty, Zix reminded themselves, could also hide danger. The next morning, Zix woke up early, nervous about the day ahead. School was a big part of human life, and Zix knew it would be the perfect place to observe how humans interacted with each other. Still, pretending to be one of them wasn't going to be easy. After a quick breakfast with the Carters, Mia handed Zix a backpack filled with notebooks, pens, and a schedule. "Don't worry, she said with a reassuring smile. "You'll fit right in." When they arrived at Ridgewood High, Zix felt overwhelmed. The hallways were crowded with students rushing to class, laughing, shouting, and bumping into each other. Everyone seemed to know where they were going except Zix, who followed Mia closely, trying not to look lost. Humans move so fast, their energy almost contagious. "This is your locker," Maya said, stopping by a row of metal doors. She showed Zix how to open it and organize their things. "Oh, and this is Lily," she added, waving over a girl with short blonde hair and glasses. "She's my best friend." "Hey, Alex," Lily greeted warmly. Zix nodded, remembering that Alex was the human name they were using. "Nice to meet you." Lily tilted her head slightly, studying Zix. "You don't talk much, do you?" "I'm just getting used to everything," Zix replied carefully. "Well, don't worry. We'll help you out," Lily said with a grin before heading off to her first class. As the day went on, Zix tried to blend in as best as they could. In math class, they copied notes from the board, even though numbers worked differently on their home planet. In gym class, they fumbled through a game of basketball, earning a few chuckles from their classmates. But it was during history class that Zix felt truly intrigued. Mr. Dawson, the teacher, stood at the front of the room, pointing to a timeline on the wall. "Today we're talking about World War II," he began. It was one of the darkest periods in human history, but also a time when people came together to fight for freedom and justice. Zix listened intently as Mr. Dawson described battles, sacrifices, and moments of hope. The stories were intense, filled with pain and courage. Zix had never heard anything like it. On their home planet, conflicts were resolved logically, without violence or strong emotions. Here, humans fought fiercely, suffered deeply, and somehow found ways to rebuild. "Why do humans go to war?" Zix asked suddenly, surprising even themselves. The room fell silent for a moment. Mr. Dawson raised an eyebrow. "That's a good question, Alex. Some say it's about power, others say it's about fear or greed. But wars also bring out both the worst and the best in people." After class, Ethan, a tall boy with messy brown hair, approached Zix. "You're really into history, huh?" he said, adjusting his glasses. "I guess so," Zix replied hesitantly. "It's just different from what I'm used to." Ethan grinned. "Well, if you like that stuff, you should check out the library. Mrs. Harper has tons of cool books." Zix made a mental note of that, but reminded themselves of the council's warning. Earth studies were forbidden for a reason. Still, the thought lingered. What else could these books teach them about humanity? Later, during lunch, Mia and Lily invited Zix to sit with them. As they ate sandwiches and chips, the conversation turned lighthearted. Lily joked about her latest science project exploding in class, while Mia teased Ethan about his obsession with video games. Zix watched silently, amazed by how easily humans shared laughter and stories. They didn't seem to hold back their feelings like Zix's people did. "You okay, Alex?" Maya asked, noticing Zix's quietness. "I'm fine," Zix said softly. "Just thinking." "About what?" Lily pressed. "Everything," Zix admitted. "Humans are complicated." Mia laughed. "Yeah, we can be. But that's what makes us interesting, right?" Zix smiled faintly. Interesting wasn't the word they would have chosen. Fascinating, maybe, or confusing. Either way, Zix couldn't deny that humans were unlike anything they'd ever encountered. And despite the council's warnings, Zix couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to learn, more than they were allowed to know. By the end of the day, Zix's mind was racing with questions. Why did humans fight so hard? How could they create such beauty and destruction? And why did the Galactic Council want to keep all of this hidden? For now, Zix kept those thoughts to themselves, but the curiosity burned brighter with every passing hour. The next few days at Ridgewood High passed quickly for Zix. Each morning began with the chaotic rush of students in the hallways, and each class offered new glimpses into human behavior. Zix found themselves drawn to history lessons more than anything else. Mr. Dawson's stories about humanity's past were like pieces of a puzzle, revealing both the light and dark sides of Earth's story. But it wasn't just the big events that fascinated Zix. It was the smaller moments, too. One afternoon, during art class, the teacher asked everyone to paint something that represented their feelings. Most students groaned, saying they weren't good at painting, but Zix watched quietly as colors came alive on the canvas. Maya painted a bright sunset over a calm ocean, while Ethan drew a cartoonish spaceship zooming through stars. Lily created a detailed picture of her family sitting around a dinner table, laughing together. When it was Zix's turn, they hesitated. What did feelings look like? How could they capture emotions when their own species rarely expressed them? Zix chose shades of blue and green, swirling them together in abstract patterns. It didn't look like much, but when the teacher asked what it meant, Zix said softly, "It's change and connection." The teacher smiled warmly, clearly impressed, but Zix noticed Mia giving them a curious glance. Later, as they walked to lunch, Mia finally spoke up. "That painting you did, it was really cool," she said, "but it felt kind of deep, like way deeper than just change or connection. Did it mean something else?" Zix hesitated. Humans seem so eager to understand each other, always asking questions and digging deeper. On their home planet, no one would have cared enough to ask. "I guess I was thinking about how humans are always changing," Zix said carefully, "and how you stay connected even when things get hard." Mia nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, I get that. Life isn't perfect, but we find ways to keep going, you know." Zix did know, or at least, they were starting to. Every day, they saw examples of resilience in the people around them. Maya stayed cheerful despite struggling with math homework. Lily worked tirelessly on her science project, refusing to give up after her first failed attempt. Even Ethan, who often joked around to hide his insecurities, showed determination when he spent hours practicing basketball after school. But not everything about humans was hopeful or inspiring. During another history lesson, Mr. Dawson talked about the Cold War and the fear of nuclear destruction. He showed old photographs of bomb shelters and evacuation drills, explaining how entire nations lived in constant dread of annihilation. Zix stared at the images, feeling a chill run down their spine. How could humans live like that, knowing disaster could strike at any moment? After class, Zix lingered behind, flipping through the textbook pages. One section caught their eye, a chapter on environmental damage caused by industrialization. Forests cut down, rivers polluted, animals driven to extinction, all because of human actions. Zix's chest tightened. These weren't just mistakes. They were choices, choices made out of greed, carelessness, or short-sightedness. "Hey, Alex," Ethan called from the doorway. "You coming?" Zix snapped the book shut and hurried to join him, but their mind was still racing. Humans had done terrible things to their planet and to each other. Yet, they also created art, music, and stories that touched hearts across generations. They fought wars, yes, but they also built bridges, literally and figuratively. That evening, back at the Carter's house, Zix sat by the window in their room, staring at the stars. Laura knocked gently before stepping inside. "How's it going?" she asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. "It's complicated," Zix admitted. "Humans do amazing things, but you also hurt each other. And your planet. Why is that?" Laura sighed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I don't think anyone has all the answers, Alex. We're flawed, sure, but maybe that's why we try so hard, to make up for our mistakes." Zix nodded slowly. Maybe that was it. Humans weren't perfect, but they kept trying. They stumbled, fell, and got back up again. There was something admirable about that, even if it didn't always make sense. Still, the Council's warnings echoed in Zix's mind. Why forbid learning about Earth studies if there was so much to admire alongside the flaws? The question gnawed at them as they drifted off to sleep, dreams filled with swirling colors and unanswered questions. The next morning, Zix woke up with a strange sense of determination. They couldn't shake the questions swirling in their mind about humanity's past and future. The more they learned, the more curious they became, and the harder it was to ignore the Council's strict rules about Earth studies. But Zix had always been good at finding answers, even when others tried to hide them. After breakfast, Mia offered to show Zix around the school library during their free period. "It's not as exciting as the science lab or the gym," she joked, "but it's got some cool stuff if you're into books." Zix followed her eagerly, pretending to browse random shelves while secretly searching for anything labeled Earth Studies. At first they didn't see anything unusual, just rows of novels, biographies, and textbooks. But then, tucked away in a shadowy corner, Zix spotted a narrow door with a small sign that read Restricted Section, Faculty Only. Mia noticed Zix staring at it. "Oh, don't bother with that," she said casually. "It's just boring stuff for teachers. Old records and stuff." "Old records," Zix repeated, trying to sound uninterested. "What kind of records?" Mia shrugged. "I dunno. Probably nothing fun." "Why do you ask?" "No reason," Zix replied quickly, forcing a smile. But inside, their heart raced. This could be exactly what they were looking for. Later that afternoon, after classes ended, Zix returned to the library alone. The room was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional rustle of pages turning. Zix waited until Mrs. Harper, the librarian, stepped into her office before slipping toward the restricted section. The door wasn't locked. It seemed no one expected students to care about dusty old files. Inside, the air felt cooler, tinged with the smell of aged paper. Shelves lined the walls, crammed with thick binders and leather-bound books. Zix skimmed the titles, their eyes widening as they realized what they'd found. Detailed accounts of humanity's greatest achievements and darkest failures. There were journals from explorers, photographs of war-torn cities, essays on art movements, and reports on environmental disasters. One book caught Zix's attention, a heavy volume titled Humanity, A History of Creation and Destruction. Opening it carefully, they flipped through pages filled with vivid images and handwritten notes. Some entries celebrated humanity's creativity: paintings, sculptures, music, and poetry. Others documented horrors like slavery, genocide, and nuclear bombs. Each page revealed another layer of complexity, showing how humans balanced beauty and brutality in ways Zix couldn't fully understand. As Zix absorbed the information, they felt a mix of awe and unease. How could one species create such wonders while causing so much harm? And why did the Galactic Council want to keep this knowledge hidden? Suddenly, a faint creak echoed behind them. Zix froze, heart pounding. Turning slowly, they saw Mrs. Harper standing in the doorway, arms crossed and eyebrows raised. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. I'm sorry," Zix stammered, clutching the book tightly. "I was just curious." Mrs. Harper studied them for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she sighed and stepped closer. "This section is off-limits for a reason, Alex. These aren't stories meant for casual reading." "But why?" Zix blurted out before they could stop themselves. "Why does everyone act like Earth's history is something to hide?" Mrs. Harper hesitated, glancing at the book in Zix's hands. "Because knowing too much can change how you see things," she said softly. "And sometimes ignorance keeps the peace." Her words lingered in Zix's mind long after they left the library. That night, lying awake in bed, Zix replayed the conversation over and over. Ignorance keeping the peace. It didn't make sense. If anything, understanding Earth's full story might help other planets avoid its mistakes or learn from its triumphs. But the Council's warnings still loomed large. Zix knew they were treading dangerous ground. Yet, as they drifted off to sleep, one thought remained clear. Humanity's secrets deserved to be known, no matter the cost. The next day at school, Zix couldn't focus. Their mind kept drifting back to the restricted section of the library and the secrets hidden in those old books. They felt torn between obeying the Galactic Council's rules and their growing curiosity about humanity's story. Every time someone spoke to them, Zix had to force themselves to smile or nod, pretending everything was fine. During lunch, Mia noticed something was wrong. "You've been quiet all day," she said, poking at her sandwich. "Is everything okay?" Zix hesitated. They wanted to tell Mia the truth, to share what they'd seen in the library, but the words stuck in their throat. How could they explain without revealing too much? "I'm just thinking about some things," they said finally. "Like what?" Lily chimed in, leaning forward. "You can talk to us, you know." "It's nothing important," Zix replied quickly, avoiding their gaze. But the look Mia gave them made it clear she didn't believe it. Later that afternoon, as Zix walked to their locker, a voice stopped them cold. "Alex." Turning around, Zix saw Mr. Kale, the substitute teacher who had joined Ridgewood High a few weeks ago. He smiled warmly, but there was something sharp in his eyes. "Can I speak with you for a moment?" Zix followed him into an empty classroom, heart pounding. Once the door closed, Kale dropped the friendly act. "You've been asking questions," he said bluntly, "about Earth studies." Zix swallowed hard. "What if I have?" Kale crossed his arms, his tone turning serious. "You know why those subjects are forbidden. The Council doesn't want outsiders meddling in Earth's affairs or spreading its influence." "But why?" Zix asked, frustration bubbling up. "Humans aren't perfect, but they're amazing. They create art, solve problems, and keep trying even when things go wrong. Why hide that from the rest of the galaxy?" "Because humans are dangerous," Kale snapped. "They don't think before they act. They destroy entire ecosystems, start wars over power, and build weapons capable of ending life on their planet. Do you really think other species should learn from that?" Zix clenched their fists, but they also fix their mistakes. They rebuild. They care for each other. Isn't that worth sharing? Kale sighed, rubbing his temples. "It's not your place to decide, Alex. Your job is to observe, not interfere." Before Zix could respond, the bell rang, signaling the end of the period. Students began filing into the hallway, laughing and chatting as usual. Kale stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Stop digging into Earth studies. If you don't, the consequences won't just affect you. They'll affect everyone here. Is that what you want?" Zix stared at him, anger and confusion swirling inside. What did Kale mean by consequences? Would the Council hurt the Carters? Or worse, would they silence humanity entirely? After school, Zix went straight to the park where Mia and Ethan often hung out. When they arrived, Mia waved them over. "Hey, Alex, you feeling better?" "I need to tell you something," Zix blurted out, sitting down on the grass beside her. "Something big." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "This sounds serious." "It is," Zix said, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. Then, carefully, they explained everything. The forbidden books, Cal's warning, and the Council's fears about humanity. By the time they finished, Mia and Ethan were staring at them in stunned silence. "So, you're saying aliens don't want anyone to know about Earth because we're too unpredictable?" Ethan asked slowly. "Yes," Zix admitted, "but I don't think that's fair. Humans are flawed, yes, but you're also incredible. Other planets could learn so much from you." Mia frowned, thinking it over. "What happens if someone finds out you've been looking into this stuff?" "I don't know," Zix said quietly, "but I can't just ignore it. If I do, nothing will change." For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Maya stood up, determination in her eyes. "Then we'll help you figure it out." All of us. Ethan nodded. Yeah, we're in this together. Zix felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they weren't alone after all. With Mia and Ethan by their side, perhaps they could uncover the truth and prove that humanity deserved a chance to be understood, not hidden away. The next few days were a blur for Zix. With Mia and Ethan's help, they began piecing together more information about Earth studies. The trio spent hours in the library after school, searching for clues while keeping an eye out for Mrs. Harper or anyone else who might suspect what they were doing. Zix couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, but they pushed forward anyway. If they could find enough evidence to show the galaxy the truth about humanity, it would all be worth it. One afternoon, Ethan suggested using his laptop to dig deeper. There are archives online, he explained, typing quickly. Old news articles, research papers, even videos. If we can find something big, maybe we can share it with everyone. Mia nodded eagerly. Yeah, like proof that humans aren't just dangerous. We're also creative, brave, and kind. Zix watched as Ethan pulled up page after page of data. Some of it was hard to understand, technical terms and scientific jargon, but other parts were clear enough. There were stories about people fighting for equality, inventing life-saving technology, and protecting endangered animals. Each discovery made Zix feel more certain that humanity deserved a second chance. But not everything they found was positive. One video showed protesters clashing with police during a political rally. Another article described a company dumping toxic waste into a river, harming nearby communities. Zix felt their chest tighten. Humans really were complicated, capable of both great good and terrible harm. This is why the Council doesn't want anyone to know, Ethan muttered, scrolling through another grim headline. They see this stuff and think it's too risky. But ignoring it doesn't fix anything, Mia argued. If other planets understood us better, maybe they could help us improve. Zix nodded slowly. Exactly. Hiding the truth only makes things worse. As the days passed, their search became riskier. Kale started showing up more often, lingering near the library or standing by Zix's locker. His presence made Zix uneasy, but they tried not to let it show. Still, it was getting harder to avoid suspicion. One evening, as the group worked late in the library, Mrs. Harper approached them. She glanced at the pile of books on the table and raised an eyebrow. You three seem very interested in history lately, she said lightly. Just curious, Maya replied, forcing a smile. We're helping Alex learn more about Earth. Mrs. Harper studied them for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she sighed. Be careful, okay? Some knowledge comes with a price. After she left, Ethan leaned closer. Do you think she knows? I don't know, Zix whispered. But we need to move faster. If Kel or anyone else figures out what we're doing. Their words trailed off, but the others understood. Time was running out. The next day, Zix decided to take a huge risk. During lunch, they slipped back into the restricted section of the library and downloaded several files onto a small device Ethan had given them. It wasn't much, a few documents and images, but it was enough to start building their case. That night, back at the Carter's house, Zix stayed up late reviewing the files. Laura knocked gently before stepping inside. Still awake? She asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. Zix hesitated, then nodded. I can't stop thinking about everything I've learned, about how amazing and scary humans are. Laura smiled softly. It's not easy being human. We make mistakes, sure, but we also try to do better. That's all anyone can ask for. Her words stuck with Zix as they drifted off to sleep. For the first time, they realized that maybe humanity's greatest strength wasn't perfection. It was the willingness to keep trying, no matter what. The next morning, Zix woke up with a plan. They wouldn't let fear or rules stand in their way. Humanity's story needed to be told, and they were going to make sure it happened, even if it meant breaking every rule in the Galactic Council's book. The next morning, Zix gathered Mia and Ethan in the park before school. They sat on a bench near the pond, the cool breeze rustling the leaves above them. Zix pulled out the small device Ethan had given them and handed it over. "This has everything we found," they said quietly. "Files, images, videos, all proof of humanity's complexity." Mia frowned. "What are you planning to do with it?" "I'm going to share it," Zix replied firmly. "With everyone. The Galactic Council thinks hiding Earth's story will protect the galaxy, but I think it does more harm than good. If people understood humans better, if they saw both the good and the bad, they might actually help instead of staying afraid." Ethan scratched his head. "But how? You can't just send this stuff out without getting caught." Zix hesitated. "I know. It's risky. But if I don't try, nothing will change." Mia crossed her arms, thinking hard. "We could upload it online first. Make sure it spreads fast before anyone can stop us. And we'll need to keep copies," Ethan added, "in case something happens to the original file." Zix nodded. "Good idea. Let's work on that tonight." That evening, the three of them met at Ethan's house. His parents were out, so they had the living room to themselves. Ethan set up his computer while Mia kept watch by the window. Zix plugged in the device and began transferring the files. As they worked, Zix couldn't help but feel nervous. What if Kale or the Council found out? What would happen to them, or to humanity? "Almost done," Ethan said, breaking the silence. He clicked a few buttons, uploading the files to multiple websites. "Okay, it's live. Now we wait." As soon as the data hit the internet, things moved quickly. Within hours, news outlets picked up the story. Social media exploded with posts about Earth studies and humanity's hidden history. People across the galaxy started talking, some shocked, others angry, but many curious. At school the next day, whispers filled the hallways. Students huddled together, scrolling through their phones. Even teachers seemed distracted, glancing at headlines during class. Zix felt a mix of pride and fear. Their plan was working. But it wasn't over yet. By lunchtime, Principal Bennett called Zix into his office. Kale was already there, standing stiffly beside the desk. Bennett gestured for Zix to sit. "Alex," he began, "do you know anything about these leaks online?" Zix swallowed hard but kept their voice steady. "I know what they say is true. Humans aren't perfect, but they deserve a chance to be understood." Kale stepped forward, his tone icy. "You've broken galactic law. Do you have any idea what this means?" Before Zix could respond, Mia burst into the room, followed by Ethan. "Leave them alone," she shouted. "They did this because it's the right thing to do." Bennett raised a hand. "Calm down, everyone. This situation is bigger than all of us." He turned to Kale. "Maybe it's time we listen to Alex and to humanity." Kale glared but didn't argue. Instead, he stormed out of the room, muttering under his breath. That night, Zix sat by the window in their room, staring at the stars. Laura knocked softly and came in, holding 2 cups of hot chocolate. "Big day, huh?" she said, handing one to Zix. "You could say that," Zix replied, managing a small smile. Laura sat beside them. "You stood up for us, for Earth. That takes courage." Zix looked down at the cup in their hands. "I just hope it's enough." "It will be," Laura said gently. "Change always starts with someone brave enough to try." As Zix gazed at the sky, they thought about the billions of lives affected by their actions, not just on Earth, but across the galaxy. For the first time, they felt hopeful. Humanity's story wasn't just one of flaws. It was also one of resilience, creativity, and hope. And now, thanks to Zix, the universe would finally see the full picture. The days that followed were chaotic. News of Zix's actions spread like wildfire, not just on Earth, but across the galaxy. Humans, Aliens and other species debated endlessly about what they had learned. Some praised Zix for exposing the truth, while others criticized them for breaking galactic law. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting to address the situation, and Zix knew their time was running out. At Ridgewood High, life felt different. Students whispered about Zix in the hallways, some smiling when they passed, others glaring suspiciously. Teachers avoided discussing the topic directly, but everyone could sense the tension. Even Mia and Ethan seemed quieter than usual, unsure of what might happen next. One afternoon, Cale approached Zix after class. His expression was unreadable, but his voice carried a hint of frustration. "You've caused quite a mess," he said. "The council isn't happy." "I know," Zix replied calmly. "But I did what I thought was right." Cale sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Do you even realize how dangerous this is? You've put Earth, and yourself, at risk." "Maybe," Zix admitted, "but hiding the truth is more dangerous. If people understood humans better, maybe they'd stop being afraid." Cale didn't respond immediately. Instead, he studied Zix carefully, as if trying to decide something. Finally, he spoke again. "There's going to be a hearing tomorrow. The council wants answers. From you." Zix felt their stomach tighten. A hearing meant facing judgment from some of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. What would they say? How could they explain why humanity deserved a chance? That evening, Zix met with Mia, Ethan, and Lily at the park. They sat under a tree, the setting sun casting long shadows around them. "I'm scared," Zix admitted softly. "What if they punish me? Or worse, Earth?" Mia shook her head firmly. "You can't think like that. You stood up for us. No matter what happens, we're here for you." Ethan nodded. "Yeah. And besides, the whole galaxy's talking about this now. You started something big, Alex. Bigger than any of us." Lily smiled encouragingly. "Just tell them the truth, that humans aren't perfect, but we're worth understanding." Zix took a deep breath, feeling a flicker of determination. "Okay, I'll do it." The next day, Zix stood before the Galactic Council in a large circular chamber filled with glowing screens and alien representatives. The room buzzed with murmurs as Zix stepped forward, their heart pounding. A tall, imposing figure named Counselor Vren addressed them first. "You have violated our laws, young one. Explain yourself." Zix swallowed hard but kept their voice steady. "I came to Earth to learn about humans. At first, I only saw their flaws, their wars, their mistakes, their fears. But then I saw their strengths too. Their creativity, their kindness, their ability to keep trying no matter what. I realized that hiding Earth's story wasn't protecting anyone. It was holding everyone back." Vren narrowed his eyes. "And you believe sharing this knowledge will help?" "Yes," Zix said firmly. "Humans are unpredictable, yes. But unpredictability isn't always bad. It leads to growth, to change. Other planets could learn so much from them, if they're given a chance." Another counselor, a shimmering blue being named Lyra, leaned forward. "Do you understand the risks? Humanity has the potential for great harm." "I do," Zix replied. "But they also have the potential for great good. Isn't it worth finding out which side they'll choose?" For a long moment, the room fell silent. Then another counselor spoke up. "Perhaps this exchange student raises a valid point. Perhaps ignorance is not always safer than understanding." The discussion continued for hours, with counselors arguing back and forth. Zix stayed quiet, hoping their words had made an impact. Finally, Counselor Vren stood and addressed the room. "We will deliberate further. For now, the exchange program remains suspended, and Earth's status will be reviewed." As Zix left the chamber, they felt both relieved and uncertain. The fight wasn't over yet, but at least the council was listening. Back on Earth, Mia, Ethan, and Lily greeted Zix with hugs and smiles. "You did amazing," Maya said proudly. Zix managed a small smile. We'll see what happens next. But whatever it is, we'll face it together. Looking up at the stars that night, Zix felt a spark of hope. Humanity's story wasn't over. It was just beginning. The days turned into weeks as the Galactic Council continued its deliberations. Back on Earth, life felt like it was on hold. Everyone waited anxiously for the Council's decision. Would they lift Earth's quarantine, or would they punish humanity for being too dangerous? Zix tried to stay positive, but the uncertainty weighed heavily on them. At school, students kept asking questions. Some were curious about aliens and the galaxy beyond Earth, while others worried about what might happen next. Maya and Ethan did their best to support Zix, always checking in to make sure they were okay. "You've already done so much," Maya said one afternoon. "No matter what happens, you've changed things." "I hope so," Zix replied quietly. But deep down, they wondered if it was enough. One evening, as Zix sat in their room at the Carter's house, a message appeared on the small communication device they'd brought from their home planet. It was from the Galactic Council. They were summoned to another hearing. This time, with representatives from Earth present, the final decision would be made. The next morning, Zix traveled to the meeting alongside Laura, Robert, and Mia. The Carters had been chosen to represent humanity because of their role in hosting an alien exchange student. As they entered the large chamber where the council convened, Zix felt nervous but determined. This was it, the moment that would shape Earth's future. The room was filled with glowing screens and holographic displays showing images of Earth, its cities, forests, oceans, and people. Counselor Vren stood at the center, his voice echoing through the space. "We have reviewed all evidence presented by exchange student 6 and others. Humanity is indeed complex, a mix of chaos and brilliance, destruction and creation." Zix held their breath, waiting for what came next. "Some argue that humanity poses too great a risk to the galaxy," Vren continued. "Others believe that understanding Earth's story could benefit us all. After much debate, we have reached a decision." The room fell silent. Zix glanced at the Carters, who looked both hopeful and scared. Mia gave them a reassuring smile. "The Galactic Council will not punish Earth," Vren announced. A ripple of surprise spread through the room. "However, Earth must prove itself worthy of joining the galactic community. We will establish diplomatic relations and monitor progress closely. Humanity will be given a chance, but only if they commit to learning from their past mistakes." Laura stepped forward, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Thank you for this opportunity. Humans aren't perfect, but we're eager to grow and connect with others. We won't let you down." Vren nodded. "See that you don't." As the hearing ended, Zix felt a wave of relief wash over them. They had done it. They had given humanity a chance to step onto the galactic stage. But as they left the chamber with the Carters, they couldn't help but feel bittersweet. Their mission was complete, but soon they would have to return home. That night, the Carters threw a small celebration in honor of Zix's bravery. Pizza boxes covered the dining table, and laughter filled the air. Maya raised her soda can in a toast. "To Alex, for showing the galaxy who we really are." Everyone cheered, but Zix stayed quiet, lost in thought. Later, Maya found them sitting alone on the porch, staring at the stars. "What's wrong?" she asked gently. "I'm glad I could help," Zix said softly. "But I'll miss you. All of you." Mia smiled sadly. "We'll miss you too. But this isn't goodbye forever, right? Maybe one day, humans and aliens will visit each other all the time." Zix nodded, feeling a flicker of hope. Maybe. For now, though, Zix knew their journey on Earth was coming to an end. They had learned so much about humanity and about themselves. Humans weren't perfect, but they were resilient, creative, and full of potential. And thanks to Zix, the galaxy would finally see that. As Zix prepared to leave the next day, Mia handed them a small gift, a framed photo of the two of them together. "So you'll remember us," she said. Zix hugged her tightly, tears welling up in their eyes. "I won't forget. Ever." With one last look at the Carters and the world they had grown to love, Zix boarded their spacecraft and soared into the stars. Earth was no longer hidden. It was part of something bigger. And Zix knew that someday they would return to see how far humanity had come. Zix's spacecraft glided smoothly through the vast expanse of space, leaving Earth behind. The planet grew smaller and smaller until it was just a tiny blue dot among countless stars. Zix sat in silence, staring out the window as memories of their time on Earth flooded back. They thought about Mia's laughter, Robert's steady guidance, Laura's warm hugs, and even Ethan's endless curiosity. Each moment had shaped them in ways they hadn't expected. As the ship approached their home planet, Zix felt a mix of emotions, relief to be returning, but also sadness at leaving Earth behind. Their mission was over, but its impact would stay with them forever. When they landed, officials from the Galactic Council were waiting. Zix stepped out of the spacecraft, greeted by stern faces and quiet murmurs. Some aliens looked at Zix with admiration, while others seemed skeptical. "You've caused quite a stir," one official said as they led Zix to a meeting hall. "But your actions have sparked important conversations." Inside the hall, Zix stood before a group of high-ranking counselors. Counselor Vren addressed them first. "Your defiance broke our laws, but it also revealed truths we cannot ignore. Humanity is unpredictable, yes, but perhaps that unpredictability holds value." Another counselor spoke up. "You will face consequences for your actions. However, given the outcome, we believe leniency is appropriate." Zix nodded, accepting their fate. "I understand. I only hope my choices helped show that humanity deserves a chance." "They do," Vren replied. "Earth's inclusion in the galactic community will not be easy, but it begins now. Thanks to you." After the meeting, Zix returned to their family, who welcomed them with open arms. Their parents hugged them tightly, tears in their eyes. "We're proud of you," their mother said softly. "You took a great risk for something you believed in." Over the following weeks, Zix adjusted to life back home. Everything felt quieter, calmer, and less chaotic than Earth. At first, it was comforting, but soon, Zix found themselves missing the noise, the energy, the emotions, the unpredictability of human life. They spent hours looking at the framed photo Mia had given them, smiling at the memory of her bright green eyes and curly hair. One evening, as Zix strolled through their neighborhood, they noticed a crowd gathered around a public screen. Curious, they joined the group and saw images of Earth flashing across the display. News reports showed humans celebrating their newfound connection to the galaxy. Scientists shared plans for interstellar travel, artists created murals depicting unity between species, and children dreamed of meeting aliens someday. Zix watched silently, feeling a swell of pride. Humanity was already changing, embracing this new chapter with hope and determination. It reminded Zix of what Mia had said, "We're worth understanding." Later that night, lying in bed, Zix stared at the ceiling, thinking about the future. Earth had taken its first steps into the galactic community, but there was still so much work to be done. Someday, Zix hoped to return, not as an exchange student, but as a bridge between worlds. They'd wanted to help both humans and aliens learn from each other, to build something greater together. Before falling asleep, Zix whispered softly to themselves, "It's not goodbye. Just see you later." Far away on Earth, Maya stood on her porch, gazing at the stars. She clutched the small note Zix had left behind. "Thank you for teaching me about courage, kindness, and change. I'll never forget you." Smiling, she whispered, "Safe travels, Alex." And somewhere in the vastness of space, two hearts, one human, one alien, beat with the same hope, that the bond between Earth and the galaxy would grow stronger with each passing day.